Sometimes people see your light but don't understand its warmth until it's no longer there. The truth is, we often take for granted the very things that make our lives better, and it's only when they disappear that we truly see their worth. They may not cherish your presence today, but the emptiness will speak louder than any words when you're gone. When you leave, they'll realize that what they once had was irreplaceable, yet by the time they understand, it's too late to change. In the silence of absence, people finally hear what they were too busy to notice before. It's not until you're no longer a part of their routine that they begin to understand what you brought into their lives, your support, your kindness, your love. People rarely value what they don't have to fight to keep. Your loyalty, your kindness. It felt infinite to them until it vanished. They took it for granted because they never had to fight for it. Your presence was always there, never questioned, and that was the comfort they relied on. Your kindness was never a weakness. It was a choice to love without limits. They'll understand its strength only when they feel its loss. What they never realized was that your love was a gift, not something they could expect to receive forever without reciprocity. They might only understand your worth when they have to fill the space you left. The void you leave behind is louder than any conversation you ever had. It's only then that they realize how much you mattered. Sometimes, absence is the only presence that people can't ignore. When you're there, they may not appreciate you, but when you leave, that's when your presence is most strongly felt. They didn't see how much you lifted them up until they had to stand on their own. You were the support they never asked for but always had. It was only when you stopped being there that they realized how heavy it was to carry on alone. They didn't notice your sacrifice because they mistook your giving for obligation. Every act of love, every sacrifice you made was taken as something you were supposed to do. They never stopped to think that you gave because you cared. Sometimes, the quietest goodbye echoes the loudest. The things we miss most are often the things we took for granted. A simple goodbye often speaks volumes that words cannot. People remember the laughter you shared, but they miss the silent support you offered when life was tough. It's the small, unspoken acts of love that leave a lasting impact, the moments where you were silently there, standing strong in their hardest times. When people can no longer reach you, they'll remember how easy it was when you were there. They never truly understood the value of your constant presence, your support, until they had to search for it elsewhere. They'll realize that your silence is a response too. Your silence isn't absence. It's the clarity that they need to understand the things they once took for granted. Your absence forces them to look at themselves, and sometimes that's the hardest truth to face. People tend to blame others for their pain, but they never consider that their own actions led to the loss they're now mourning. They didn't appreciate you because they couldn't see past their own needs. People often fail to recognize what's right in front of them because they're too busy focusing on their own desires. In the end, your absence will make them search for pieces of you in places they'll never find. They won't be able to replace you because what you gave was unique, something they will only understand when it's no longer there. People only miss what they believe they'll always have, and that's the irony of love. We assume that the ones we love will always be around, but when they're gone, it hits us with the force of 1,000 regrets. They'll remember your patience as their frustration grows in trying to replace you. It's only when you stop being patient that they realize how much they depended on your calm, your understanding, and your unwavering support. It's only when you're gone that they realize your love was a choice, not a duty. The love you gave wasn't out of obligation. It was a choice. A gift they never fully appreciated until it was taken away. Absence teaches appreciation in a way presence never could. When you're always present, people forget how important it is to show gratitude. It's only when you leave that they realize what they had. They might find comfort in your memories, but they'll long for the presence they once took for granted. Memories are precious, but they can never replace the warmth of a person who is actually there. They'll miss your presence not because you were always there, but because you were always there for them. It wasn't just your presence that made them feel safe. It was the way you always showed up when they needed you the most. People will realize too late that loyalty is a gift, not a guarantee. Loyalty is earned, not expected. It's something you give with your heart, but only when you know the person will appreciate it. They will miss the way you made them feel about themselves, the way you made them feel valued and loved. They didn't see it as special until they lost it. In your absence, they'll finally understand that you were the anchor they depended on. They didn't realize you were holding everything together until you were no longer there to do so. When people look back, they'll realize they didn't lose you. You freed yourself from what didn't value you. Your departure wasn't a loss. It was a liberation, for you and for them. Sometimes you have to let go so that both sides can heal. They'll learn that not everyone who walks away returns, and that's where true growth begins. When you walk away from someone who doesn't appreciate you, you give them the space to either miss you or learn the hard way. Eventually, they'll realize that your absence has left them to face themselves. Without you, they have to deal with the consequences of their own actions, and that's a bitter reality to face. Only in your absence do people see the gift of your presence. They'll see, finally, that your presence wasn't just a thing that happened, but a choice that made a difference in their lives. They'll come to see that appreciation delayed is often appreciation denied. If they didn't appreciate you when you were there, it's not about your worth. It's about their inability to recognize it in the moment. People will search for a replacement, but they won't find another version of you. They may try to fill the gap, but they'll realize that no one can replace someone who loved them the way you did. They'll finally see that losing you wasn't about absence, but about what they neglected to cherish. The truth is, they lost you because they never truly appreciated you, and now they'll pay the price of that realization.